And now let's get into NCAA sports. We're going to start off with it this week because we have the biggest news. Just about the biggest news you can get in Oakland sports. Your Oakland University men's soccer team has achieved victory in the regular season. And by victory, I mean above all. I mean the best record in the Horizon League. I mean 5-2, I believe. Let me go and look back on the record. But your Golden Grizzlies are the Horizon League regular season champions. Let me take one last look at that record just to make sure that's right. 5-3 in the conference with 15 conference points. Nobody can beat it, and nobody has beaten it, and your Golden Grizzlies are number one going into the Horizon League tournament. I'm excited. You guys should be excited, and everyone should collectively share that excitement. Like I mentioned before, 15 conference points, 5-3 conference record, 6-8-2 overall record. And they will be getting a first-round bye in the Horizon League tournament and having at least, or rather having all of the games run through Rochester, baby. We're going to be hosting the Horizon League tournament. That's going to be starting, or the quarterfinals, rather, to determine Oakland's opponent will take place November 5th, that being a Sunday at 1 o'clock. But for the rest of the Horizon League tournament, where Oakland's going to be in there, November 9th, that's next Thursday, Horizon League semifinals, and then crossing fingers and knocking on wood. We don't predict the future here in the GioMoShow. We rather just hope for it. But the Horizon League championship is going to be November 11th, 1 p.m. We'll see if the Golden Grizzlies can get there, but we're still excited about their number one seeding in the Horizon League tournament. And let's go back and review a couple of their games. How did they get there? Who did they beat to achieve this record? Well, that victories did not start on October 28th against Green Bay away in Wisconsin. That game was a loss for Oakland 1-3. But they came back home yesterday at 2 o'clock against the Detroit Mercy Titans. They came to town, and I was there for the first half at least. Me and my cousin Joseph Churko, one of the stud senior soccer players at Eisenhower High School, make my cousin a Titan. We'll leave that as a more of a personal note. But the Titans came to town, and they received no goals on their side. But they took 2 goals from Oakland. And what does that mean in regular people terms? That means Oakland won 2-0 in the final game of the regular season at home at the blackout game in front of all our wonderful Golden Grizzly fans. In that game, goals were scored by Donovan Phillip in the 21st minute to get things started. One of the star freshmen of the Horizon League starts off the scoring with a goal himself, assisted by Mikey Ketterman and Ville Ahola. And then in the 83rd minute, Oakland leading the whole time up until then. 83rd minute, Owen Smith, assisted by Noah Roca, had one of the sweetest goals that you'll see. And I recommend you guys go to the social media of the soccer team to get the replay of that. Brother, that one was magnificent. Crossing over the middle and a fantastic touch to get it into the back of the net. I recommend you guys go watch that one. That one was sweet. So that leaves Oakland at the number one seed in men's soccer. And to give you a picture of the Horizon League tournament, who could they possibly be facing? Well, for the rest of the seeding, you got Green Bay at number 2, who also has the bye week. Oakland would not be facing them in the semifinals. But rather, they face either number 3, IUPUI, number 6, Wright State, number 4, or rather, they wouldn't face Wright State, I don't think. Or hold on, let me make sure that I actually understand the bracket here. Let's just go down the list of seedings, shall we? Let's make things a little bit simpler for you guys on the wonderful GioMoShow audience. So, Oakland's number 1, Green Bay's number 2, 3 is IUPUI, 4 is Detroit, 5 is Purdue Fort Wayne, and 6 is Wright State. So Oakland's going to stand by, waiting around in the semifinals to see who they face next. So stay tuned for that. You'll hear all about it on the GioMoShow. So now moving on to some of our other sports. Let's go to esports, rather. So this past week, we'll go to this past Tuesday. Let's go back to Halloween, as Oakland University Esports has detailed a fantastic week review, or rather week heads up on all of their games. So Let's start with the Smash Brothers B team on Halloween. They faced SVSU. They faced off against the Cardinals for a 2-0 victory for the Golden Grizzlies. And then for now, they sit 3-1 and head into their last game of the regular season next Tuesday. For Oakland University League of Legends, they faced Quebec in their final game of the regular season. Oakland, like League of Legends, finishes up with a 4-3 record, securing third place in the conference. And while the competition itself is over for the fall, they'll be back in the spring as they continue the grind. And then for the rest of the games this week, yesterday, the Rocket League team faced St. Clair and Kennesaw State. We're waiting for results on that one. And then today, Rocket League will be facing Fisher College and Ball State. So stay tuned for that. You can follow you can follow Oakland Esports rather at Oakland Esports on Twitter, and you can watch them at twitch.tv/Oakland Esports to keep up to date on your fantastic Golden Grizzly gamers. I'm going to take the headphones off for those watching on YouTube. So now moving on to men's basketball. So they, if you were not aware, played another exhibition game against Wayne State this past Monday. It was not a game that was called on WXOU, unfortunately, but it was one that I personally attended as I was shot out of a cannon, went right from class, bolted over to the arena, made sure I got my front row seats, make sure I had my flag up, the headband on, the white sleeves, and the Oakland shirt. And I made sure that I was loud and proud. And for those of you who are noticing my voice kind of giving out at some spots, you can blame the Golden Grizzlies for that, as they came away from the game against Wayne State with a victory, with a margin, or rather a score, 86-71 against the Warriors. And yes, I understand that it's exhibition. And yes, I understand that doesn't matter when it comes to the league and when it comes to their record. But it's fun. I'm talking as a fan here. Yes, I kind of made myself the media man for the Golden Grizzlies. And I know that there's some media responsibilities there. But I was there as a fan because I'm in college for only so much longer. And I rather enjoy going to basketball games here at Oakland University to, let's say blow off some steam at the expense of the other team. As I get loud and proud in the student section. You guys know me. So to kind of give, we'll give my personal experience there in the stands. I had so much fun heckling Wayne State. And of course, the GioMoShow only condones and endorses polite and respectful taunting of the opposing team. That means no talking about their mother, no cursing, nothing that says you suck or you stink or anything along those lines. We don't do that at the GioMoShow. We get creative. We get on their nerves in other ways. We find out that one of the players is not on the program that was given out to the audience. So, with that in mind, I saw his number. I called him out and said, "Hey, I don't see you on the roster. Where are you? What's your name?" And after about 6 or 7 times, I got him to look at me. He got frustrated. He had his shot blocked shortly after, and I was just loving it. So I like to bring a little edge to the student section, but of course, nothing that would get anybody in trouble or kicked out. Or we keep it mild. We keep it kid-friendly. As there was mothers and children in front in the, let's say, the VIP seats. So, gotta keep it respectful. But it was a lot of fun. As far as the play on the court goes for the Golden Grizzlies against the Warriors, it was a bit of a mixed bag. I will not lie to you guys. Wayne State was able to keep it close for a lot of the start of the game. Most of the first half, they were starting to kind of keep with it. And yes, Wayne State is no pushover. They are Division II. And, they're not Division III or high school or middle school. Okay, those guys get scholarships too. We'll put it that way. But the Golden Grizzlies did eventually start to pull away towards the end, winning by the 15-point margin, as I mentioned before. But there were some offensive struggles in the beginning. There's been some injuries to the team that have kind of kept them from performing at their best and what they expected to perform as. And Coach Campy detailed that in his post-game press conference, that the absence of Taburu Navalarua, who we will shorthand refer to as Buru. Andre Polk was unable to go for himself. Cooper Craggs suffered an ankle injury 25 seconds into the game. That one was not fun. To see him limp off, and hopefully we get him back soon. But there's been a lot of big bodies going down for the Golden Grizzlies, and luckily it's happening now in an exhibition game as opposed to late in the season when you're shooting for top seeds in the conference. And there's no good time for injuries, but there's better times, and I believe this time is one of the better ones. But it's still concerning. We'll say the big story for this team is, according to Greg Campy, was the depth of the team. Oakland has not had a team this deep on paper for quite some time. And Campy has been mentioning that throughout the offseason, is that this is one of the better teams, one of the deepest teams that he has had. And to see a lot of your key pieces go down is not good. Oakland still has their core of Trey Townsend, and now emerging as core pieces, DQ Cole and Jack Golke. We'll talk about them in a little bit. But that height, rebounding became a big issue. Wayne State out-rebounded Oakland, no, they didn't out-rebound them, but it was getting tight at some points. And, you got Chris Conway there for height as well, but, you're just missing some of those big bodies, and it stinks, and, that's not helpful to the team. Not saying that they chose to do it, but you know what I mean. It doesn't help matters. So there's some concerns going into the rest of the season, especially when you're going up against Big Ten opponents like Ohio State and Illinois. But if ever a time, then the very start of the season would be the time before conference play. We'll leave it at that. But either way, I had a great time with the Golden Grizzlies. They still won by 15 in their exhibition game, and going to be starting to find that identity. And we'll see how the offense develops with those absences in mind. So now moving on to the final segment of the Oakland NCAA Sports Update. We're not covering women's soccer, as we mentioned last week. They were eliminated from the tournament, or eliminated from entering the tournament after a loss to Detroit Mercy. So they're currently on the offseason, unfortunately. But that brings us now to volleyball. Volleyball had 3 games this past week at the arena. Last week we covered the game against Purdue Fort Wayne, but this past weekend was Northern Kentucky as well as Wright State. And to kind of zoom back to the Purdue Fort Wayne game, Oakland was able to win against the Mastodons in set 5. So you play 5 sets on Tuesday, and then you're going into the number 2 team in the Horizon League at the time, Northern Kentucky. Oakland went down 0-2 to start the game against the Norse. And Oakland was fighting a little bit, but, it was just not, obviously not enough. You're down 0-2. Set 1 was 25-21. Set 2 was almost the same, 25-19. And then something switched. Oakland went Grizzly mode. We'll put it that way. In set 3, Oakland fights them all the way up to the 20s. And then Oakland gets the win in the set, 25-21. Now it's still favoring Northern Kentucky, but the set score is 2-1. Then set 4 comes around. Identical score, 25-21 Golden Grizzlies, and they take it to set 5. We called it on WXOU, and you can check out the WXOU YouTube channel to find your highlights and to listen to the end of set 4. I believe we had a pretty long segment recorded for you guys, chopped up, detailing the Norse being forced to set 5. And then Oakland capped it off, winning against the second best team in the Horizon League, or I believe it was the third team at the time, won it 15-10 in set 5. Now they're on a 3-game win streak. Away at Youngstown State, home Purdue Fort Wayne, home Northern Kentucky. And then they're facing, then at the time, number 2, Wright State for Halloween. And I dressed up as Luigi and called the game on Halloween. it was awesome. At least the costume was. The game, on the other hand, was not as awesome. Wright State was able to come away with a victory 3-1 against the Golden Grizzlies, dropping them down to, I believe, 5th in the Horizon League at the time of the show. And we are a live show, so it's just the record now. Allow me to check for sure to see the standings, to see where the Golden Grizzlies stand in volleyball. Because last year, and I talked to Patty Cesarini over the offseason on the show. You could scroll back. I believe that was the beginning of June. I had a conversation with her, June 8th, I believe, if my memory serves me. And they did not make the tournament last year. Oakland wasn't happy about that. Patty told me that they were not satisfied with that. And next year, they got to be in the tournament. And so far, Oakland is 5th in the Horizon League. Would be the 5th seed. Would be in the tournament. Conference record is 9-5. Overall is 15-11. Above them is Green Bay. Above them is Northern Kentucky. Above them is Wright State, and then Milwaukee at number 1. Wright State and Milwaukee are fighting it as they are tied in conference record. Northern Kentucky and Green Bay are also tied. Their records 10-4. Top 2 are 11-3. Cleveland State's not far behind Oakland, sitting at 6th place, 8-6 on the season. And then from there, it's a pretty big drop-off. Purdue, Fort Wayne, 4-9. Robert Morris, 3-12. IUPUI and Youngstown State with 2 wins each. So you're kind of, at the way it stands right now, top 6 teams getting into the Horizon League tournament, you're kind of set, and it's more about getting the seeding advantage as opposed to entering the tournament because, like I mentioned before, pretty big gap between 6 and 7, so you're kind of in at this point. But Oakland did have a great opportunity to jump into the rankings, but Wright State, Oakland went down 0-2, and then they won set 3, and then they were in set 4. Playing 5 sets 3 times in the same week is a lot of volleyball. It's a lot to overcome, and the third time in a row just was not the charm for the Golden Grizzlies. So that's going to take us to a break. Before we get into break and then start talking about our Oakland University club sports, let me tell you about Friday Night Grooves. Fridays at 8 p.m. on WXOU. Listen in to Friday Night Grooves. Hosted by DJ RBJ since 2011. Friday Night Grooves is your home for the best soul, jazz, electronic, indie, and alternative music here at the station. He also has interviews with the artists and one of the best voices in the radio game. You can find the website to the show at FridayNightGroove.com and follow the host at Trill Gunderson. That's Trill Gunderson on Instagram for the latest on the show. To listen to Friday Night Grooves, 8 p.m. on WXOU. We'll be right back with Club Sports.